Hi, thanks everybody for joining us today. Really excited about this track and this particular our panel today. It is Eighth Wall talking about how WebAR is driving real results for brands. And if any of you know me, you know that I love advertising and AR and VR. So I am thrilled to be introducing this panel and hosting the track today. Today on our panel, we have John Salter from Trigger Global, Jennifer DeFalco from Eighth Wall, Rob Czechowicz from Sony Pictures, Martin Urrutia, I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name there, and then Jason Yim from Trigger Global. So let's welcome the panel, and I'm excited to see what you guys talk about today.
Introduction, Samantha. Yeah, so why don't we get started with a short sizzle video that we have provided by Trigger that shows off just a couple of the web apps that they're working on. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Today, we're going to talk about how advertising agencies and their clients are using WebAR to deliver marketing results for brands. So today we have Trigger, Lego, and Sony Pictures. And what is WebAR? Well, it's interactive augmented reality content that can be viewed and experienced directly from a website, no app needed. So why don't we kick it off with Trigger on the agency side. And I'll start with Jason. As a mixed reality agency, what kind of clients do you typically work with? And what are the main reasons why brands are opting to integrate immersive media into their campaign strategy?
Hey, Jen, thanks for having me on the panel. So we work with a good range of clients. We focused on entertainment marketing, so we've had lucky enough to work with Rob on the Sony side. So that's film marketing, TV. We work with fan engagement, so that's very much on the sports side. So there we work with the PGA, the NFL, NBA, and then on the augmented shopping side, we're lucky to work with clients like Lego for the past 8 years now, as well as other big brands there too. And I think for us, we see, actually interesting enough, with Sony and Lego on the panel, I think they represent like the two ends of the spectrum of how we used a WebAR. So on the Sony side, on one end, it's the idea of like early engagement, getting someone interested and knowledgeable about a movie and engaging with the stars and the actors in the story. And then on the Sony side, it's almost like virtual try-on, having them test out the experience right at the point of sale, right before the transaction.
Excellent. Awesome. And then, yeah, so I'd love to hear, I guess on the Lego side, Martin, can you share, some ways that you guys are using WebAR to be able to connect with your and engage with your customers?
Absolutely. It is a fantastic engagement tool for us. So first of all, happy to be here. Thank you for the invite and sharing our experiences. For us, it's been really interesting, and we love WebAR because it offers different advantages. First of all, it is very strong with storytelling. I mean, if we need to tell a story like this the movie that you show, where ghosts are taking over a Lego store, I mean, the only way to make this happen is through WebAR, right? You know, you come into the store, you see the ghosts taking over the complete floor, and then you need to go and hunt them, just like in the actual play set. So for us, it's storytelling, you know, fantasy, being playful and do that. But also, it's quite efficient because the content could be rolled out across multiple locations. And one of the stronger points for us on the operation is that it actually leverages everybody's device, right? Everybody will have, or most of the people will come with their own device at home. It is like going with your own, you know, 3D glasses to the movie theater and all of that. So we leverage that. In the past, we needed to provide lenses, we needed to provide tablets, we need to do that with WebAR. We don't need to ask people to use their data to download the app. We don't need to ask them to do anything. Everybody will have their own device. So it is quite different advantages that we see, and we actually have seen that people are having fun and love it. So we'll continue to do it for sure. We'll try it.
Great. Would you say that it's more frictionless in general than downloading an app, or what was some feedback that you've gotten from, I guess, from customers?
Yes, it is super frictionless because we don't need to ask people to download an app. And nowadays, to have a good app, you need to ask them, you know, to download 400 megabytes, 500 megabytes. There is, of course, challenge with the data plans and all of that. Actually, many of our, you know, our children coming to the store, they don't have big data plans. So to ask them to download an app in a shopping center or in a store, and then wait for that to happen, that stops the experience. So it's working very well for us. Probably just maybe sharing back with the audience, one super important point for us that we continue to learn more and more, it is actually on the communication side. So how do we invite people and tell them it's time to take out your phone and read this QR code? It's time for you to engage this experience. We're not there yet, but we continue to get together with Trigger and other experiences. We continue to get more learnings, but that's the key point for us. I would say if anyone is looking to do WebAR, it's going to offer you a lot of fun, a lot of, you know, yes, great moments for people to remember. Even, you know, some of our experience will allow you to take a photo of the moment so you can keep it for yourself or share it with others. It is the communication, the key point. So how do we tell people time to get your phone and try this awesome experience?
Exactly. So just trying to get that communication to the end user to be able to understand that, hey, I can just pick up my phone and use this experience right away.
But I think people, of course, you know, we're getting used more to see QR codes, and we know now, we have learned that a QR code means scanning. And the advantage of WebAR is that we don't need to say scan it to download an app. It's actually scan it to go and have fun immediately. But again, it is learning through that. Probably sharing another learning that we have been through with everyone. I think is talking about what has not been perfect. At the beginning, we tried to be cool and innovative by designing very strange and fancy and sophisticated QR codes. People didn't really understand that those were QR codes, right? They thought they were like signs or, you know, codes for a treasure hunt or even logos. So we're going back to basics, and we actually put nice communication around that, but we keep the QR codes as simple, as straightforward, and very much in a shape that people know them today. So we secure that first scan.
Got it. And then Rob, on the Sony Pictures side, I guess, how are you guys using WebAR to reach your customers?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be able to talk about this with everyone, and thanks for also giving me a reason to get dressed up. So, you know, as a studio, we're not shy about integrating or using AR in our marketing efforts. It's definitely a great way for us to drive awareness and drive engagement with our brand. The way that we look at WebAR is really an extension of our existing websites. You know, 5 years ago in the past, we spent a lot of time developing rich desktop site experiences. And I think just over the changing landscape and the progression over time of people being more tech savvy and using their mobile devices, we're trying to present a new opportunity to those users and that consumption habit. Probably 10 years ago, you'd say that 80% of overall site traffic was coming from desktop, but now those numbers are flipped. So how are we creating an experience that's both immersive and sort of to what Martin was describing as well, is not something that requires a heavy download or a lot of time. So WebAR is really that perfect opportunity, that sweet spot of creating content that's optimized for the device and has fewer barriers to entry. Sort of that reel that you showed before, I was really excited to work with the Trigger team on building out an experience for our recent Jumanji movie, Jumanji: The Next Level, where we created the first studio voice-activated AR experience. And I think that just shows the power of the technology, as well as what our consumers are willing to engage with and interact with. It's that sort of technology level that they're starting to be familiarized with wanting to be able to communicate with their voice, reducing the amount of taps, and really making the overall experience a little bit more seamless. We definitely wanted to make sure that within that experience, we were telling a great seamless story. I think as marketers, sometimes we often will find ourselves in a place where we're trying to load too much into an experience. And it feels a little bit overwhelming on the other end to consumers. So creating something that felt very seamless in terms of narrative was a priority. I think the only thing that we didn't do on that Jumanji campaign was actually send people to a physical jungle. But our legal team wasn't having it. So we just wanted to offer our customers the next best thing. So really driving that seamless narrative, creating engagement tactics that allow people to sort of personalize their experience, I think are very important when you're building out WebAR. We added in a photo feature that allowed people to take a selfie with the cast members. We'd love to give everybody the opportunity to take a photo with Dwayne Johnson, but I just don't think that from a global scale, we have that time and availability. So creating sort of that level of connectivity and personalization, I think, is really important and is something that we look to incorporate down the road. And then bottom line for us is to try and get people into theaters. We want to give them enough narrative and enough story to convince them that this is a premium opportunity for them to go and see in the theater, but making sure that they know when tickets are available and how to buy them is definitely important. So, communicating that message and that through line is definitely something that we want to focus on and make sure that we can introduce, and WebAR gives us that opportunity.
Great. And I guess I'll open this question up to everyone, but what are some different ways that you're promoting your WebAR experiences in order to reach that target market and to get them to engage with the experience?
Sure, I can just jump in really quick. We look at a number of different factors. Definitely we try and support all of our experience with, a media spend, both tactically, making sure that we're reaching the right customer, but we also want to make sure that we're engaging with the fans that we know who are ticket buyers. About 24% of people don't go to the movies at all. So, our number one priority is making sure that we're reducing as much waste as possible and really being super efficient. On the other side of that, I think, we try and leverage our cast as much as possible and lean into social. Jumanji is a great example of having cast members that have a very active social following and fan base. So getting them to help us with pushing out those materials and learning more about the movie is a great advantage for us.
Great. And then John, at the Trigger side, how are you guys promoting these different campaigns? And how are you tracking, the analytics and just kind of measuring the success of each campaign activation?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on the panel. But I think that's really kind of like a spot that WebAR shines, is especially in analytics, because if you think of it kind of as like an extension of a brand or company's just other digital media presence or their web footprint, you can hook into like the analytics that you have on like your like global website, right? And you can track the interactions of like, hey, like this person like tapped or interacted with like an AR hotspot. And I think that's super valuable that I'd love to see like more and more people start to, take advantage of. And in terms of like marketing and pushing that out. I think Jason probably can speak to it a little bit better on our side.
I think the great thing about the WebAR is this kind of you can repurpose it across so many different channels. You know, like at retail, like Martin said, you can be presenting a QR code right there, and that same code can be used in print, and then also on your digital and online channels as well. That could be direct links to go to kind of launch that WebAR experience. And at each of those steps, not only are you repurposing the content, but you can also track all those steps separately and different, you know, maybe even different goals for each of those different channels. So it's a lot more data than we can normally get out of, let's say, social AR and those platforms that have kind of a limited amount of data that they'll pass back to the client. With WebAR, we can kind of tie into as many branches as we want.
Awesome. And then I guess how are you integrating your WebAR campaigns and promotions with social media AR? And how do they compare and how can they work together?
I think for us, like we are approaching AR campaigns kind of holistically. You know, an audience that you're going to find on WebAR may also be in social, may also be on the app side and stuff. So a lot of times we might have kind of multiple prongs going at one time. For instance, you know, having a smaller WebAR activation that then leads to a larger app download for a much more in-depth experience. Or we can take some of the assets that we're creating for WebAR and then kind of tailoring them for social AR instead. So maybe on social, it's a much quicker experience. It's more focused on, you know, on the user space and stuff like that. But some of those elements can be kind of paired up with a deeper WebAR experience that is still, you know, related, like a sister experience to that. So there's some connectivity. But on the WebAR side, we can push for kind of deeper engagement, get them closer to transaction, make them actually do something functional or offer something functional that you can't do as easily on social.
And maybe just complementing what Jason just said, WebAR is allowing us to surprise our shoppers like they never seen before and we never done before. So for example, when our Lego stores are closed after 6, 7 p.m., we still have the WebAR QR code on the front door. So if you're leaving the movie theater, you watch a fantastic movie, you're passing through the Lego store and you've seen it's closed, you still have an experience to go through, right? Because even if the store is closed, you just scan the QR code, and even if you're in the shopping center or somewhere else, you will still see the ghost, or it could be the dinosaurs, or whatever is coming out. So it's allowing us to be almost always on, right, 24/7. But also for the first time, it allows us on the Lego side to do a complete omni-channel experience, meaning that this experience that Jason is talking about, that we had in the physical stores, for the first time ever, we offer the same experience in our e-commerce side. So if you were shopping in the stores, you had the QR code. If you were shopping from home or from the office, you click on the link and actually the ghost will come out from your device and take over the space from where you are shopping. So it's not that easy, but I think that's the dream of any retail marketeer, is how do we could have that experience across channels, across touch points, and the physical and the virtual space together.
That's really cool. So it kind of creates this like seamless experience across digital, in-store, and in-person interaction, and kind of brings it online. That's interesting.
But also very consistent. And that's very important as well.
Okay. And then also with Lego, you guys have an AR app as well, right? And I believe the WebAR experience kind of was used to drive downloads of the app in addition to that. Is that right?
Yes. So of course, one of the most interesting pieces for us is how do we end the story, right? What happens after? So first of all, we gamify, and together with Trigger, we found a way to gamify it so you will collect ghosts, the ones that you trap. You're official ghost hunter, so you need to get those. And there, but also, this allows us to offer additional information. So because this experience was based on a Lego playset, and a Lego toy, the hidden side is called. So if you wanted to continue the experience at home, you could actually get more information from there. If you wanted to download it and immediately see what we're talking about, we offer a link to go and visit, the App Store, depending on which operating system you have. So it's also allowing us to build bridges toward different endings. We also have, I think, Jason and John, the experience translated to more than 27, 28 languages. So it's super interesting. Again, one development, just used in different ways, but again, always consistent, always linking to that place where we wanted to make it.
Yeah, like I think what was really cool about Hidden Side was, it was actually at the point of sale. And when people go out and they're like, I want to buy a Lego set, and they say, oh, there's a cool AR app, they have to go home and they have to build that set, and they have to download it and then scan it, and then you get the AR app. But having the opportunity to be in stores with them and be like, no, here's a slice of what you can expect, and here's the story we want to tell to you, was, I think, like just a really cool way to like drive people to get this set.
That's awesome. And then, and also, John, with WebAR experiences, are you able to kind of like update them in real time? And if something changes in the marketing strategy, let's say, are you able to just like instantly make those changes in real time?
Yeah.
Web-based?
Yeah. I think especially with the web, it has the flexibility of being able to respond to the moment. There's not another app update you have to push and then have your users download. You can push that when you want it, and same with the social experiences. There's no approval process to go through with like Snap or Facebook.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
and just to add to that, actually, that was really effective for us on Jumanji as well. Oftentimes with movies, we're sometimes chasing the latest materials, whether that be VFX or footage that's been finished. So getting the opportunity to really update the experience with new content, and also sort of rely on, what we're learning on other platforms of what are our customers engaging with, what type of content do they find the most interesting, and then putting that back into the experience to try and create, really the highest level of production is really what I think is so great about this. And that was really successful for us, for sure.
Does it give you kind of that flexibility to do like A/B testing and to see, what the audience is responding to, and be able to like implement those changes quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do a lot of A/B testing when it comes to, our AV creative. Working in the movie business definitely presents itself with a unique set of challenges, for sure. We operate within shorter windows, so it's a little bit more difficult on, a one-off movie. But definitely franchise films give us that opportunity to really test and learn, and then keep expanding those experiences to create repeat engagement, to get people to come back and really retain them. And also sort of what everyone was speaking about before, just that opportunity to track our customer and follow them throughout, how they're adapting and how they're changing over a longer period of time. I think that, in and of itself is really powerful.
The other flexibility too is just the type of features that you can include. So you're not kind of boxed into the limitations of the platform. Like for instance, with Jumanji, like Rob said, it was like the first studio use of voice recognition in WebAR. And that was just something that like we all felt worked well with the narrative. It was a cool tech to kind of show off with Amazon Lex. And since it was all web-based, you could now add that feature in. So, with each of these campaigns, we can take that similar approach. We can find things that are out there that are interesting and kind of plug it into the WebAR backend. And ideally, of course, also plugging into transactional stuff too. So, after really engaging them, we're also end up hopefully taking them all the way to a point where there's some transaction being made at the end of it.
Awesome. Yeah, and then I'd love to hear, I guess, some insights from each of you on, maybe some like key metrics or engagement that you've noticed with your customers. If you Oh, is the audio cut out? Can you guys hear me okay?
You're back now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, well, I just want to hear some, yeah, if you guys have any key insights on, like, I'd love to know about the dwell time or engagement metrics you guys have noticed with each of with your various campaigns. And we'll start.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump and start, right? Sorry, Janet, maybe you were gonna nominate someone, but I volunteer myself. So actually, of course, without talking about metrics, I tell you WebAR works. That is definitely for our, you know, our KPIs, our metrics. It has worked. We've seen a large number of people using it. Actually, we could see how the WebAR was used more and more as we communicated. We've seen that people engage quite a lot, so we're very satisfied with the results, and it works very well. We also found that there's regard, you know, in Lego, of course, in the Lego stores, we have shoppers of any age, even above 99 sometimes. Everyone has been able to enjoy it, to have fun. So I think we're very pleased, and we were very excited, just as John mentioned, to see how people understood the story that we wanted to say. So we'll definitely continue. So stay tuned. Very soon in a Lego store near you, you might find a new experience coming to you.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in as well. So, you know, a unique metric that we often talk about is just the fact that 12% of moviegoers buy 49% of all tickets. And when you really think about that, it's kind of astounding just at, you know, how many times they might go to a movie during the month. And we want to make sure that we're engaging that really active audience. With experiences like this, we're definitely seeing a higher volume of people who are interested in richer experiences. We're seeing, you know, higher engagement of overall time spent. We're also seeing that, you know, on average for certain experiences that people are coming back more than 4 times a month. So, you know, several times a week just to sort of see what's new, come back. So, you know, all those things are really great, obviously, and hopefully, you know, that ultimately is getting us closer and closer to having them make a purchase decision. But I think that WebAR really presents a unique opportunity where we don't have to rely so heavily on what might be a more traditional, expensive app campaign. It gives us sort of that sweet spot in the middle that we can leverage and use to an advantage, and it gives us those flexibility aspects that we were sort of talking about before.
I think there was a recent article with that Eighth Wall was publishing that 80% of WebAR sessions are over a minute long and 50% are over 2 minutes long. And for us, some of our highest performing campaigns are over 5 minutes long on average. So, you know, I think those times are when you compare it to other types of digital media, you know, that's a huge difference, and that's a big impact. And those times are not only, it's not passive viewing, it's not watching a video. The users actually engage through all of that. So the idea of, again, kind of like converting that kind of activity and that kind of interest into something very directed that the brand wants the consumer to do, I think is much easier to be done on WebAR. So very powerful platform that way.
Awesome. And I guess what kind of advice could you offer other agencies and brands who are looking to launch WebAR experiences? You know, how could they effectively promote their WebAR activations to have a successful campaign?
I think what Martin said earlier about deployment, you know, I think the technology is great and it's so powerful and it's continually growing, but we all have to get better at that kind of deployment step of things. And I think each channel has its own different challenges, you know. So at retail, if you're using a QR code, you know, part of the challenges there is that like other brands are using QR codes to do different things as well, you know. So as a consumer, I don't know what I'm going to get when I scan a code. So on the WebAR side, we have to be better at kind of previewing that kind of benefit, you know, like show them through imagery or whatever on the actual signage, like what is actually going to appear to further attract them to actually scan, versus having the consumer scan and then find out what they're going to get. And then I think in digital distribution, of course, like making it more seamless to go from a social post to actually launching WebAR is critically important.
Got it. Great. And then we have about a minute or two left before we're going to switch over to Q&A. So I'd also just love to hear quickly from you, Martin, and from you, Rob, on what I guess how do you see the landscape of on the Lego side, consumer packaged goods and retail, and on the Sony side, the entertainment industry. How do you see like that landscape changing as immersive media becomes more adopted by the public? And we could start with,
I'm happy to start. I think that, absolutely. I think right now, sort of take a look at what we're all experiencing in our day-to-day communication as we're working from home, as we've been sheltering in place. I think people are willing to try new things in order to be entertained, and brands are really starting to acknowledge that. I mean, I think look at the number of people who are starting to experience virtual festivals, people who are willing to jump on an endless number of conference calls or happy hour sessions with one another. Where I think if you looked a couple months prior, a lot of that wasn't happening, and there was a lot more reluctance from customers to want to do things out of their norm. And advertisers, I think, might have had some hesitation with being more willing to sort of invest in a premium type of experience. As a studio, Sony definitely values the immersive media and the engagement that comes out of that, so much so that a few years ago we started our own VR division. But as a marketer, on movies especially, we find ourselves at this interesting crossroads between entertainment and technology and business, and we just want to make sure that we're creating the most engaging experience that I think can show our customers that we have the goods and get them to go to a theater.
And Martin, did you have anything to add on the Lego side, like how you see marketing changing as immersive media becomes more adopted by the public?
Absolutely, and I echo everything that Rob said. Of course, we agree in all the points and similar point of view. I will say also the conditions are getting better and better now with 5G coming, with better processors on the screens, with a larger screen, or even with better resolution. You will be able to experience these, so in much clearer way and with more excitement than before. I will almost say, Rob, it's like going from black and white movies to color movies, right? We are in that transition period where you could be immersive, you could have better sound. So I think it will only get better as we move forward. And this is where technology is allowing us to then spend the time being creative on how we develop that experience. We need to worry less about if this will work or will be running, is it too slow? It's actually being creative and then build on the communication. So we are following the same path as Rob mentioned and Sonia are
doing. Great, awesome. All right, so on that note, I think we're gonna switch over to Q&A.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. This has been a great panel. I've been really excited. There are people chatting, going like, where can we try these? And I think somebody put up the link for Lego, and hopefully somebody else has the Jumanji one. So we have lots of questions for you all, and I don't know if we'll be able to get to all of them, but let's see. So I had a bunch, and that's probably not surprising for any of you who know me. So how long do you think it will be until we have a AR only campaign? Do you think it's possible? Anybody? I hear crickets at that question. Just so if it would be just social and just WebAR.
I think it depends on sort of the initiative, of what you're trying to offer up to the consumer. I don't necessarily think that that works for every single line of business, that you can only have one. I think you need a proper mix of everything sort of working together. I think we'll definitely see a change in the percentage of how much one thing has more of an impact over another. And I think that just is a thing to attribute to sort of the overall customer journey of how people are willing to engage with the content that we're putting out there.
Right. So that leads into there's Thomas had a question about if there are any sort of best practices on integrating. And I have my notes here in case you're saying, why are you looking down and to the right? How do you integrate the physical and the digital? Are there sort of best practices that you've learned over time? Jason, do you have any thoughts on this, or anybody
Like
else in the group?
At point of sale, like you mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's wherever you're, if somebody's sort of new to WebAR, maybe they've tried Snapchat before, how they start thinking about integrating that sort of physical experience beyond just sort of using somebody's face as a map, like in a Snapchat. Or maybe for Lego. Lego, I mean, you guys have experience in stores, so that also.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason. I'll jump after. Yes.
Sure. I mean, I think, as Martin said, like in store, just the kind of the call to action, and in any other AR stuff that we've done too, the call to action and making that super clear is almost half the battle, I think, for success right there. And then in retail, one thing that is hard to account for is what other QR codes are going to be in that store. I think with Lego, you have a Lego store and it's going to be a lot more controlled. But if we're working on a brand that, let's say, it's going to be distributed in a big box store or something like that, and your point of sale advertising is right next to 50 other things that also have QR codes in them and stuff like that, that can get quite confusing. So just being aware of those things and standing out and again being as clear as possible.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, that also reminded me. Absolutely. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. To jump in a little bit, I think AR and WebAR, you also have to take into account, like, where is this going to be used? It's not like a traditional website where it all exists on your phone. You'll have to think about, like, especially for hidden side, people are going to be using this in store. You have to design an experience that can be done within like a couple feet of space. And that was something we were playing around with while doing hidden side, was how much space is anyone going to have when they're scanning boxes and aisles, and making a compelling experience when you have either limited space or you at least have to plan for there's going to need to be some space because you are using your physical environment.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is that there's a big need, I think, for just developing out the user journey, not just in the virtual world or the augmented world, but also the physical world. Anything else from anybody else in terms of adding answers to that question?
Maybe just adding with everyone, what everybody say, actually got hooked with your question about the WebAR only campaigns. And I think, the best analogy, because I love thinking on examples, is you cannot just cook based on basil, right? You need to have a mix of ingredients. So basil is going to give you the flavor. That's WebAR. You need to have a strong, communication. You need to be in a great physical store. So it's not one experience by itself. It's the combination of them and how you balance them, what is going to make the aha moment. And will make you remember that. I think if we go with only one approach, instead of using all the tools that we have available to create that fantastic recipe and a mix, it will only be better. So for us, WebAR, it's helping us to make the reality that we have in the stores, the physical space, more exciting and more interesting, and with a touch of fantasy for people, so they could dream through their phones, through the screen, on what is possible to see and do.
Yeah, I think
that's. Do you have a list somewhere where people can experience it, by the way? Sorry. It was just that if there was a list somewhere on a Lego site that said, like, where you can experience these Lego experiences, because I would love to, and I'm sure that most people who follow this would love to try to.
Yes, of course. The hidden side campaign, unfortunately, is not available anymore. We're running into a new year, so we have new exciting campaigns coming from the hidden side. However, every Lego store has an experience called the digital box. One of the challenges that we had as a company is that all of our toys come inside in a box, and inside that box they are disassembled. So how do you tell people inside here you will gonna find a spaceship, a boat, a car, fire, you know, explosions, something exciting. So you come to any Lego store, you put most of the Lego sets in front of the camera, and it will actually build them in front of you. So you will see how all the Lego bricks are getting put together. And then as a surprise, you will have little minifigures, you know, coming out and running against each other, having a bottle, having a coffee, everything, you know, will be different. So that's available in every store. And as I mentioned, we're cooking some exciting things. So stay tuned, something coming very soon on AR, of course. WebAR.
I can't wait. Cannot wait. Jason, I interrupted you. So what were you about to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I thought that was a great point by Martin, that like that physical location provides so much context, and that's like the big multiplier. So when you go to the Lego store and there's a hidden side display with the sets there, and then you launch the ghosts, like that kind of like connection that you make adds so much more to the magic, versus like you're on the street somewhere randomly and you start off the link. It doesn't have that same kind of impact. So it's great to kind of be able to multiply, you know, enhance something that's already in store on display, and add that a big jump in magic that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that that's what really makes AR so much fun, is that you have a potentially unlimited canvas to play with, the entire world, or an entire store, or entire storefront. So really, really fun. So there were two people that had asked about, and this is always a question that tends to come up, are there any sort of hard numbers? Are there any sales conversion rates? Are there specific best practices? I think, Trigger, you have some of those that are on your website, but is there you know, anything that comes to mind that any of you have that can be shared? An eighth wall.
Sure. Yeah. So with eighth wall, with our data, we have tracked that, you know, 80% of users spend, 80% spend at least a minute, and 50% spend at least 2 minutes in an experience. So we've just noticed that that the dwell time is very high with WebAR experiences. But yeah, if Lego, or on the Trigger side, if you guys have any analytics that you'd want to share for any of your campaigns.
Yeah, we're kind of limited in what we can share specifically for our clients and stuff, because it's our client data. But
yes, and I think, of course, similar to us, you know, it's difficult to share data. But as I say, we're very positive. We've seen that that people use it, and maybe, you know, for us, maybe talking about the approach of the KPIs that we put into the app, we didn't target directly to sales. We target this to experience. So we want to make sure that people understood the product and the storyline beyond buying the box, because we of course know that, you know, the more you understand a product, the more you understand a story, the more engaged you are with it, and that could lead to more purchases, frequency, word of mouth, recommendation, loyalty, and many other things. So for us, the biggest KPI that we had on WebAR and the hidden side experience is, do we actually tell the story correctly? Do people understand it? And that's where we didn't want to be as hard as playing with sales yet, maybe that in the future, but for now, it is a great tool to engage with people and tell what is the message.
Yeah, no, I think that I absolutely find that beyond the acronyms, sort of AR and VR and XR, whatever it is, another favorite of the industry is NDA. Everybody loves an NDA. So I think that probably the best bet is to reach out to some of these folks directly, me, and we can sort of get you some of those numbers. But I wanted to thank the group for just an amazing panel. So thrilled to hear you all talk about this. These are all really, really great sort of inspirational topics for everyone. And I can't wait till, you know, the WebAR becomes even more ubiquitous. It's just such a fun technology. So everybody, and we'll be back in a little bit for our next talk.
Thanks, Samantha. Oh, and I just wanted to also add, to try some of these examples, the different WebAR experiences. Trigger has some awesome campaign examples on their website, and then we also have some you can try as well at eighthwall.com.
Great.